Imagine walking into your boss's office and giving notice because your writing has become your primary revenue stream. Or your podcast is successful enough that you can quit your day job. Or maybe having your marketing on autopilot so you can spend your time on the art career you love rather than on marketing. Are you a creative person who's great at what you do, but marketing makes you freeze? You're not alone. I help passionate, purpose-driven creatives overcome fear, find their brand voice, and build a marketing strategy that works for them. Oh yeah, I also make it easy and painless. It's never too late to grow the business you've been dreaming about. Book an introductory call with me, Rob Southgate, at southgatesmallbusiness.com today. And let's take the pain out of marketing together. Welcome to Go Fund This, or should I say Alley Chats? It's kind of both. But today we're going to start out by calling it Go Fund This. I have with me Neil Gibson. You guys are going to love him. We're going to start out by talking about the Kickstarter he has going right now that I know you are going to be extremely interested in, and then we're going to get into a regular Alley Chats type interview. We're going to mash them together and put it on both feeds, and I'm going to say it up front. You're going to love it. You're going to want to support it. You're going to, even if you go, I can't, you're going to want to share it with your friends because there are so many people that you know that are going to be into this project, that are going to want to support it. You want to make them aware of it because we want this to succeed. So here's what the project is. Oh, by the way, Neil, welcome to the shows.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
The Kickstarter is for the comic book, comic adaptation, not adaptation. It's an original, correct? It's based.
No, it is an adaptation.
It's what?
It's an adaptation. It's an adaptation of the show.
Oh, it is an adaptation of that episode, the USS Callister episode of Black Mirror.
Yes.
Okay, now I got it. See, I'm learning as well, right along with the audience here. So it's the Black Mirror USS Callister.
You know what? I always love it when I come on shows when the host has done preparation.
But I did. I read all this. It's early, and I have very little coffee in me right now. So we've got the Black Mirror USS Callister. It's a graphic novel. Right now, as of this moment, it has 500 backers. You have crushed your goal already. The goal was 20,164. You're at 40,075. You are going to go so much further because we still have 24 days to go. So that's wonderful news. But you want to get in on this Kickstarter. So, Neil, like I said, we're gonna sidestep the whole Go Fund This thing because you've already hit the goal, but I want people to do it, but I want to hear about you. So why don't you tell people about the Black Mirror graphic novels? A little bit about what this project is.
So look, that's a very interesting question. So
I love it when my guests come on and they're prepared for a question like that.
Touche. Love it. No, because the thing is, okay, my favorite books are the ones I reread. Okay, and there are a few television shows I rewatch, but not many. And Black Mirror is why I love it is because what I try to do with my comics is to entertain, educate, surprise, and leave people thinking. And Black Mirror always does that, right? It sticks with you days afterwards, some episodes, and doing it in a different format lends a different spin on things. So if you imagine you see a play, but you see a play with a different actor doing it, and it's totally different. Like how many different versions of the same Shakespeare plays, but just it's with a different director, a different cast, it is different. And that's what I'm doing, a different flavor of the same story. And it is the same story because it's a great story, but having it in a different format, it's a different medium. The difference between seeing a play versus seeing a film, like A Few Good Men, phenomenal film, but originally it was a stage play. And this is just a different interpretation of a great story.
You know what? We've talked about this a lot on this show. You haven't been aware of this, but I bring up a particular thing absolutely related to this with comic creators, with writers, all the time. There's a great thing. If you read the Game of Thrones graphic novel, the first one, it came out before the TV show, but it was after the first book obviously was published. And George R.R. Martin writes a thing at the beginning and he says, I love that they're doing all these things because each one affects people differently. It's a different take and brings you into the world differently. And he said, reading the comic, the graphic novel of Game of Thrones, to him, it felt like the first time he was hearing the story. He loved it, even though he wrote it. And he said, it does have that effect. And I'm a firm believer in that. Every format you can go in, like think about when you first heard, I don't know if you're going to go, I don't know what you're talking about. When I was a kid, obviously Star Wars was a big thing, right? I think you've heard of Star Wars, right?
Star what?
Yeah, okay. There's this thing called Star Wars. And I remember when I was a kid, Christmas, I got all these Star Wars toys. And that night, a big thing happened. NPR, the National Public Radio here, played the Star Wars audio drama for the first time. And it was 6 hours long, I believe. And it was an audio interpretation of Star Wars, which I knew inside and out. And I had read the book and I had the comics. And then I heard the audio version. And it was like hitting it brand new for me all over again. That's what you're doing with this graphic novel. You're bringing it to us in another way, hitting us a different way. And I think the graphic novel is a beautiful way to do this. So that's why I said everybody's going to be interested. They're going to be into this because what a great idea.
Oh, thank you. I like the approach that was the artist done with this, because I asked him, like, how are we going to do this? Because at the start of if you watch the episode right at the start, it's like the 1960s. It's got black lines down the sides of the TV screen, right?
Right.
And it's this filter. And then it goes to the real world and it's drab. And then it goes back into the game, but it's still dated, but not as dated as the opening scene. Right. And then it changes again in the game right at the end. I don't know spoilers. So how to do that? So I thought about using multiple artists, but my main artist said, actually, Neil, I'd like to give it a shot. So I said, well, how are we going to do it then? He said, well, let's how about this? And his pitch was, for the original scenes, we'll do Jack Kirby, okay, and like just 4 colors, and then we'll have a drab for going into the real world. Then going back, we'll move into Neil Adams, 1970s rather than 1960s. So it's still data, but not quite the same. We have those Ben-Day pixels, and then for the end, we'll go for current Marvel style. And I said, well, for the coloring, then I want to have a lot of like J.J. Abrams' flair on it. And this is just some of the small details we're talking about, just for let alone the coloring, the lettering, and the paneling, how we change things. But it's just fun to think how much thought has gone into this by each of the team members.
I think you're approaching it just the right way. Even looking at the Kickstarter and looking at the different graphics that are showing here, seeing the different styles, I'm already so infatuated with it. And what a great way to do it. So, like I said, support this, get in on this. Here's what I want you to do. Since we've already kind of blown it, here's where we're at. It's already funded, but you're going to want it. Let's just talk about a couple of the different tiers. What do you think are the most popular tiers?
Oddly, it was the most expensive ones. They went like that.
Really?
And so you can't get them anymore because they're one of a kind. You know, like in Star Trek, they had the different color, 3 different colors. So we had one of a kind, each of those, and they all went instantly, like $1,000, £1,000 actually.
£1,000. It's a little more than $1,000.
Yeah. And then so we've had to introduce a new tier. I think that's going to go pretty quickly too. But in my opinion, because we're doing a weird thing on this, because normally with Kickstarter, it's right at the start and at the end you get those kicks. We've deliberately staged our PR and marketing to actually try and do it through the run, to actually have spikes here and there and introducing new things that are happening. And I personally think that if you're not, maybe Black Mirror is not for you. Some people see the first episode and they just go, no, it's too much.
Yeah, are you talking about the pig episode by chance? Because
yes, I am. Yeah.
You know what? You said something that doesn't leave you. That does not leave me. It
doesn't. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yes. And that was a risky move in there. They didn't know how big it would be. So in some ways it grabs attention, but it does alienate people as well. So that's a trade-off. Interestingly enough, we're reprinting this is a side issue, but my biggest seller is called Twisted Dark. And the opening story is only 4 pages long. It's 4 sides. And it's a shocking twist. Because all my stories, again, I try to entertain, educate, surprise, leave you thinking. And it's dramatic. But we changed it because of some reactions since it first came out. We've noticed that sometimes it triggers people. We've had people cry at our booth when they read the first story. Because it's that emotional. And
I love that.
Well, okay, the stories are all dark with twist endings. That's hence Twisted Dark. And I remember at New York Comic Con, this woman's, because the stories all connect together, but they also work standalone. And this woman was skeptical. I said, I'll prove it. Pick a volume at random, okay? And she picked volume 3. I said, pick a story at random. She picked one. And she read it. She turned the last page. She saw the twist. And she screamed and showed me her arm. And all her hairs were standing up.
Wow.
So I was really pleased with that. But I'm not pleased with people crying because it hits them so emotionally. I think if they've read a few stories and then one hits them, that's okay. But the first one, they don't know what this is. And so that sort of, I didn't want to have that effect again because it was more than one person started doing this. So we changed the story. Now having that initial story means you get the shock factor. People go, wow, people are interested, are more interested. Mm-hmm. But I changed it for a different story in the reprinting because I just didn't want to upset people. And that's a risk you have to take. So with the Black Mirror thing, maybe Netflix might want to change the order for new people trying it for the first time because they won't be as traumatized by the first story.
Right, because that pig one is a barrier to entry for some people.
Exactly. That's a risk you take for some people, but it's done its purpose because it's got enough people interested in it and or talked about it. I told you I'd go off topic, by the way, so there you go.
No, we're good. In fact, I'm going to just steer us back to GoFund this for just one more thing here. Yep. You said you do have essentially stretch goals. You have things that you're going to be adding in. I don't want to blow anything, but have you got some really good ones that we should be looking forward to?
Yes, but...
You could have just said yes.
Well, yes, but the thing is... I'm not good at these public. Look. This is not my property, right? Okay. So I have to be careful what I say because if it's something that I make myself, I can say whatever I like. I can mess up my marketing team or shout at me, but ultimately I own it, so it's okay. Right. In this case, it's not my product, so I have to have other people to figure in. So I have to be very careful about things. So yes, we have a stretch goal planned.
That's all you need to say. Marketing department happy. PR people, yes, you jumped to the water. We're good.
But what I will say, though, is like if you have friends who like Black Mirror, this would be a wonderful surprise gift for them because it is a great story told in a different way. And that's so when you ask my question, what is the most popular tier? The most popular tier is actually the higher end ones. But if I was you and you had a friend who loves Black Mirror, I'd get the cheapest one. But get them this because it's something special and different. Yeah. That's my suggestion.
Yeah, it's the cheapest one is £25 in the US dollar right now. It's $33 for it, but it is absolutely worth it. Absolutely gorgeous. So yes, I agree with you. In fact, as I'm leafing through these, it's funny because yes, that one is amazing, but then I get to like the crew editions and things, and I'm like, wow, these are really cool. And you are right, that £1,000 tier is spectacular. And it's gone. So, you know, when we were kids, we'd go to school, and at the beginning of school, they'd make us put covers on our books. Like, I remember like taking bags from the grocery store and you'd cut them up and you'd make a cover for your book to protect the covers. So those of you that can't get this special edition, go get some, red, yellow, blue, green wrapping paper, make your own covers for it. It won't be as cool. You'll be the dollar store version of it, but the inside is glorious. So
I've never been speechless before in one interview, but you've been speechless. You're taking our top tier one and making it so cheap by putting wrapping paper on
it. Okay, so we're going to move out of GoFund this. So one more thing. You can go to Kickstarter. You can look up Neil Gibson Comics. You can look up Black Mirror. Either of these things are going to get you right there. I will put it in the show notes, and I'm going to say it one more time, what I say on every one of these episodes. You want to support it. This is a super cool project. It is 100% happening because we've already hit the goal. We've doubled the goal almost right now at this moment. So it's happening. It's a safe bet. But if you have a Star Trek fan, if you have a Black Mirror fan, if you have a comic graphic novel fan, this is all a home run for them. Makes great gifts. Get it now before the holidays. Boom. Okay.
Well, I'm not going to self-promotion, but what I actually will say, though, is if you're interested in how things are made, like behind the scenes. So I actually own the Black Mirror book of like how they made the TV show. This is before because I'm a fan of the show.
Yeah, sure.
There's one tier it shows the script book, which the actual script I wrote for the show, and how it's done in comic book format. And also it's the art book, and how we made the art and the choices behind everything. So if you're interested in how comics are actually made, if you're like just either just out of curiosity because you want to make them yourselves, that's the tier to get. So frankly, when I fund things on Kickstarter, I just care about the book normally. But if it was someone like Alan Moore or someone about their stuff, and there was an option for the script book and this other stuff, I'd be backing that because I'm just curious about that stuff.
Yeah, I think it comes down to what you can afford, because some people can only afford the lowest tier. They want in on it. But if you have the funds, yeah, that's the tier.
Well, only if that's what interests you, because some people just need the story. So if you're not interested in that stuff, then it's not for you, even if you have the money.
But there's a reason I buy Criterion versions of movies, because they have all those glorious extras, and the extras on the Criterion are the best, right? So if you're that person, there's the tier. If you just want the DVD version, you want to see the story, that's here too. And if you're a retailer, there's a retailer tier too, which is something I always encourage, which is really good. Okay. Now we're going to move into the other part of this. Ladies and gentlemen, who knows who's listening? We've got Neil Gibson with us today. I've already introduced you. Don't think that I'm going to cut this up. But Neil actually has Twisted Comics, which I want to talk about that. So Neil, give us a lowdown on Twisted Comics and what's the philosophy behind it, and let's get into it.
Okay. Do you want to know how I got into it?
Yeah, whatever you want to start with. This is just a conversation now. Everyone's already backed your thing. I'm even going to change the graphic on the video. So now we're just talking. All right.
Okay. It's my mission in the business to get more people reading and creating comics. Because I've lectured at 6 universities about this. I've lectured at Google about it. I've done talk at Apple. I know the psychology of comics and the advantages it has for memory retention. Like if you have brain scans of someone watching a film, reading a book, reading a comic, the blood flow is the highest for the comic book. The memory retention, the pictorial superiority effect. There's so many advantages to it. I won't stop talking about it. But the reason is I felt prejudiced against it because in the UK, if you read comics at age 14, you are old to be reading comics. It's considered juvenile.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's bigoted viewpoints and they don't realize it. And the thing is, I felt the same way. I started to read Spider-Man and then I grew out of it because all the stories felt the same to me. And then in my 20s, I read Watchmen. I was backpacking around the world and I read the book and I was like, wow, I couldn't believe how intelligent it was and how much it made me think. And the visual metaphors, it was beautiful. And then I became hooked. And I resent the fact that my friends, I go back to the UK because I was working abroad and they'd see me reading a comic and they go, you can't keep reading that forever. I'm like, why not? Have you ever actually read one yourself? And I get annoyed. And Brian Michael Bendis, he told me once that he'd read it and he'd read it on the subway and felt like he was reading porn or something, like hiding the fact that he's reading a comic book because he didn't want people to see that he's reading it. Right. And I understood him. And I hate that. And I want to get more people reading comics because there is a comic out there for everyone. If maybe you like historical fiction, like read Mouse and emotional content. Maybe you just want to switch your brain off and you can read some superhero stuff. Or maybe you want political commentary and you can Joe Sacco or whatever. There's a comic out there for everyone. Clearly, you can see my passion for this stuff. Anyway, to answer your question, sorry if I'm rabbiting on here.
Not at all. Not at all.
So I was working as a management consultant. I'd fly around the world helping companies, and I was stuck on a project in Qatar in the Middle East. And my friends and family back in the UK. So normally you work till past 10 every night. And on this project, I was done by 7. So I thought I'd try making a comic book in my free time. And I did. And from having the first idea of the story to having the book in my hands was 200 pages, graphic novel, was 9 months. And I put the book out and incredibly went to number 1 on Amazon in the UK. And I was like, what? I'm not a creative guy. I'm an engineer. But people seem to like my writing. So I gave myself 2 years. I quit my job. If it didn't work, I could go back. But I'm still doing it 12 years later.
Now, was this Twisted Dark? Is that where you started?
That's why I started Twisted Dark, yes. The first story idea was actually because I was in Qatar. I was in this, this whole city didn't exist 8 years ago. Like, it was all reclaimed land in the sea. I was in this skyscraper, it's brand new. I was wearing a suit. I pressed a button on the phone there, a fancy phone, and someone would come and take my drinks order for tea. And I look out the window, it's 50 degrees Celsius outside, and then the Indian laborers working in slave-like conditions. And I just thought, the only difference between us is just where I was born. And I thought it was just so unfair. And that was the idea for the first story. And anyway, I was terrified of being boring. So I thought if I wrote stories that were quite dark with a twist, it wouldn't be boring.
Right.
And hence it was Twisted Dark. And the thing is, because I said earlier, I like stories I reread. Twisted Dark is designed to be reread. There's 120 recurring characters, and they all interconnect every story, but not in the right time sequence. So it's a puzzle. I've known people, there's 8 volumes so far. I know a few people have read the whole thing 10 times, and they figure out the connections. So, but not everyone will do. So every story should work on its own. But if you want to reread it, then you can, that's the guy. Actually, this is a fun point. In the office, there was a guy, this is back when Volume 4 came out, and I saw him, and he read one story, and I saw him think. And he went across to the library and took out Volume 2 and referenced the story, and he pointed because he figured out the connection. And I was delighted. I was like, yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, it reminds me, like you mentioned Watchmen, which, especially if you go back and you start reading those before Watchmen, you start seeing threads that that's a series that I know gets a little bit of heat. I actually loved before Watchmen, adding that into the Watchmen universe. But what you're talking about here is the feeling I had reading the Sandman series the first time. Because I was reading before it had ended. I'm reading it and I'm seeing recurring characters, but they're standalone stories. Each graphic novel is its own. And by the end, you're so invested in the overarching story that all of it becomes one big, charcuterie of Sandman, and you get to the end and you're like, oh, wow. It's such a satisfying experience. Now, do you see an end game for Twisted Dark?
Oh, yeah. I've written the last story.
You have? Okay, great. How many volumes is it going to end up being? Or can you tell us?
Yeah, probably 18. But the thing is, the problem is, honestly, I don't know George R. R. Martin it. Ideas are not a problem for me. I have so many story ideas, but so many of them are just, okay, this character could, this sub-thread is that, or that. Where the main plot line, I have to figure, some people don't care about the other stories. They may be good stories, but okay, where's the main plot going? Yeah. So it's a balance between, so what I think I have to do, I'm actually being sneaky about it. So I have to focus more on the main plot line, and then I have spin-off characters. So the next volume actually is not Twisted Dark Volume 9. It's my favorite character called Amy, and it's called Twisted Amy, and it's all stories about her as she gets 2 years older each time, because I think Usain Bolt was the fastest man who's ever lived, in my opinion, probably, right? Someone would have been the strongest man who's ever lived. Someone, probably Leonardo da Vinci, the most multi-platform intelligent person.
Right.
She is the most selfish person who's ever lived.
Oh, wow. That's saying something.
Yeah. So, and she's a monster at age 6.
Oh.
And every story is 2 years as she gets aged and what she does. And it's anyway, so but then the thing is, those stories are interesting to me, but they don't advance the main plot line.
Right.
So, except for one of them. So it's a balance you have to do.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me once again of Sandman, or if you were an X-Files fan, how they had the Monster of the Week episodes. They had things but they'd put little things in that were advancing the main theme or the main story point. The problem there is it lost its way. You're not losing your way. Now, you obviously are a plotter then. You're not going by the seat of your pants. You have this plotted out.
You should see my matrix. I've got 120 characters across here. I've got all the stories here, and it fits through. And I show people at maximum zoom, and people are like, "Wow!" So if I wrote 3 stories, I had to add it into the matrix, and to make sure the timeline's all sorted out, it takes me an hour to add 3 stories in just to fix it.
To move everything around. Yeah. I own a huge podcast network. Believe it or not, trying to not even putting plots together. Trying to fit the schedule and the way I was executive producing 150 different podcasts. And I know it seems like, yeah, but they're just podcasts. It's not impossible. You're looking at the person who did it. And this is our 14th year, but I'm not doing that many shows any longer. But
wait. You were doing this yourself?
Oh, no. I was executive producing all of them.
Okay.
I was editing roughly, I think at the height, I was doing 36 shows a week that I was editing, plus doing all the social media, all the marketing, all of it. I bent time. I'd step into my TARDIS and change things around, and every once in a while something would break and I'd end up with a TARDIS that hated me, but I did bend time. So anyway, I get that though. I had a matrix there, and you'd have to go, I have to put this here. I have to say this at this time. We have to make this work. And it is so complicated. In the beginning, you can be a pantser. By the end, you cannot. And what you're describing here is you cannot. But you also said you were an engineer, correct?
Yeah, I'm.
That type of brain is not a pantser type brain usually.
No, but I have a weird. So, okay, first of all, how geeky I am. I don't write in Word. I write in Excel.
Interesting.
I actually do, because I can just put a 1 in one column, and then that means it's a new page, and it numbers all the other panels. So it's 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. Then there's 1, 2.1. So instantly there's 4 panels on page 1. I don't have to write page 1 is 4, and if I need to change the number of pages, it's instant, and it gives me data. It tells me you've got this. It flags color, but we've got 3 pages in a row with the same number of panels.
That's a great way to do it, because you can keep changing up your visuals. I get it. This is wonderful. What a great tip. Now, but you write it initially in.
I write it in Word to get the ideas out.
Right.
But it's for the script format, because then I have a column here. This is what I want to be drawn. This is what the dialogue is. This is what the colors are for this panel. And so each panel goes along that way. And sometimes I don't fill in what's to be drawn, because let the artist figure it out. But I go, no, it's important that this clothing is this color, because the love interest introduced later will have the same color clothing. So this person's tie will be her color shoes or handbag. Right. Or the mood here. No, the background here, don't be realistic, make it red because this is dramatic. Those sort of notes I put for the colors or whatever.
That's fantastic. And what a great tool for your artists too, to be able to go back and see all of that, as opposed to like, okay, here's my, it's almost like having a show Bible, but it's a running show Bible.
So here's the interesting thing. Artists love it. Colorists like it. Who hates it? Investors.
Oh, okay.
Because they can't understand the format. It's not something they're used to.
It's not a traditional format, sure.
Yeah, and actors. I'm working with some famous actors on certain titles, and they struggle to read it. So I have to put it into screenplay format. I'm like, that's just... Yeah. But yeah.
Even that, I've written screenplays, and even that, when you're talking actors, well, that's not the format that I'm used to. It's like, no, this is the traditional format of blah, blah, blah. No, I read this Sid whatever, and wait, it drives you crazy. So yeah, actors, I already knew you were going to say they were a problem. By the way, I was a professional actor for 12 years, so I'm a problem too.
I already knew that, but that was just...
That was from our first conversation. That was from the first moment we spoke. You went, yeah, I got this guy. I want to talk about something on your website that I find really intriguing too. If you go to twistedcomics.co.uk, this is the Twisted Comics webpage. And I was looking around, you've got all these different, styles of books, and love it, right? Love it. Love the artwork, love everything going on here. And then I saw something. Now we're going to get into marketing, Rob, for a second. You have courses on here.
Yeah.
I am now a huge fan, Neil. Like I wasn't before, but now I'm a huge fan. I think this is a brilliant marketing tactic. Those of you that are comic creators, have a comic company or individual, having an educational section to what you do is critical for SEO. It is critical. See, I told you, marketing guy. I have a show. That's one of the few shows I still have. It's all about marketing. This is so brilliant. I went to it right away. I saw comic making course free. I'm like, well, that's a no-brainer. You got to sign up for that. How to make comics. Now you're getting into something deeper. It's something people are going to pay for. You've got to, well worth it. I think this is fantastic. Now you teach these courses, correct?
I do. It's fun. I gave a guest lecture at a university in the UK that specializes in comics. And afterwards, 2 people came up to me and said, I learned more in that 1 hour than I have in the last year of this course.
Yep.
Because I'm just teaching teaching practically what I do and what it makes sense. Because like I write in Excel, I build models for everything. So I believe, and I built models because I have to. When I first started, artists would send stuff to me, and I didn't like it. But if I send a script to someone and they say I don't like it, well, that's not useful. Neither is saying I loved it.
Right.
Like I loved it because of this, or I didn't like it because of that. Okay, now I can work with something. I understand. Okay, that's good. So I built models to explain all the elements I see to writing, to art, to coloring, to lettering. And then each of those components, you break it down even further. So very quickly, I'll explain just which one do you want? Do you want artists, or do you want colors, or do you want writing?
Let's do writing.
Okay, so if you ignore the premise, right? Let's say you're watching TV and ignoring the visual elements. If you're switching channels, it's before Netflix, you're just flicking through. The first thing you notice is the dialogue. And if the dialogue is boring or stupid, you'll just change channel, right? Mm-hmm. The next is the plot or genre. Because it's a Western, I'm in, okay? Sorry, it's a horror film, or I don't want to watch it, or it's action, or it's a romance, it's comedy. And then, is it interesting? Is it good? Is it a good form of that genre? I want to see what happens next. What keeps you coming back week after week are the characters. Right. This character's hot. Or this character's fascinating. I hate this character, but you have an emotional reaction to them. And what gets you going, what gets you fully invested, why people dress up as stormtroopers or the Night's Watch, is the universe that's been built, right? Where is it all set? And that can just be in a police station. It can be in a hospital. It could be in an expansive medieval world, whatever. But it's where it's set and how rich is that. And then even if you have all those four, it's like having a great joke. Someone can tell it really well. Other people can't. They'll butcher it. So you need to know how to tell it. So those are the 5 elements to writing for me. Dialogue, plot, character, universe, and storytelling. And I rank everything when I work with other writers on a scale of -1 to +2. -1 is bad, 0 is average, 1 is good, 2 is excellent. So if you take Game of Thrones, the first couple of seasons, which I loved, right? Dialogue, excellent. You can put
+2 for sure.
Like, winter is coming. I drink and I know things. You can put it on a T-shirt. Everyone knows it, right? That's dialogue. Plot, wow, stuff that happens. And you really want to know what happens next. Okay. Then characters, so complex, so interesting, so varied, and the universe, the heraldry, it's so well thought out, and they told it well. That gets a 10 out of 10. Mm-hmm. Now, me, if I'm judging myself on my best day, I give myself 5 out of 10 because I have average universe, I have average characters, I have excellent plot, I have excellent storytelling, and I have good dialogue. So I get 5 out of 10. Mm-hmm. But so I like to work with other writers for I'm doing long stories where their focus is the characters. They can't make a story to save their lives, but they have interesting characters. Or someone else who just like world building. And that's being honest about where my strengths and weaknesses are. So I build models for everything. So when I judge artists or people, I give feedback. I explain why I have a problem with it. And if they want to know why the character is bad or why the plot is bad, well, I break that down even further.
I love it. Once again, your engineer brain is trying to create art, and I love it because it obviously is. When you work with artists, do you find that they appreciate that as much?
It depends on the artist. So I actually have a friend of mine, I wouldn't say his name, Amrit Birdie, and I think some of his art's fantastic. His storytelling is awful. Awful.
Good thing you didn't say his name.
No, it's terrible. But like, I worked on a story with him, and there was the character, the woman was supposed to be backing away from the man is here. He's protecting his girlfriend because the bad guy's there, and the guy's saying, "Stay back, stay," and he takes stay back, and the girlfriend's on this side. Why did she just move? But Neil, right. The composition looks better this way.
Yeah.
Okay, it may look better artistically, but not in a storytelling fashion, right? And then that's a problem. And he goes, but it looks, and so if it's left to his own devices, his stuff would look amazing, but doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
And so he doesn't like taking feedback from me. But when I first met him, I was actually at New York Comic Con, and he asked for feedback on his art. So I told him the truth, and he was pissed off for 3 years. And after 3 years, actually, you were right. Yeah. But he does not like feedback. And to be fair to him, he is brilliant at what he does. It's like, I don't know, it's like Michael Bay or Zack Snyder. They're visually brilliant, but their stories,
Yeah, they don't know how to how to write a complex story. That is for sure. But visually, my God, some of the stuff is astounding.
Genius. Yeah, exactly. So, and some people don't care about stories. This is important. Some people don't want; they just want to switch their brain off and be entertained with a spectacle.
Why do you think the Transformer movies have been so big? I mean, it's just visuals. What is really going on there? You know what I mean?
I can't watch them. I've never watched a single. I've only managed. I couldn't finish any of them. Sorry.
Yeah, there's only one that I would recommend because I thought that Bumblebee was different. It was like it's in its own universe, and I was like, okay, now this is an interesting story. I don't know who directed it. It wasn't Michael Bay. It's the one where after the series had pretty much gone off the rails incredibly, they did this one shot about Bumblebee, different director. I think it's like Selena Gomez or somebody stars in it, and it's got heart. It's got great characters. There's an interesting story. There's all this visual stuff that I'm like, it's not over circuiting my brain like the other ones did. So that's the only one I recommend. And that's the one, if we go with your Matrix, that's the only one that gets closer to a 10, whereas the other ones might be closer to a 4.
Well, you see, I wouldn't even give them that high a score. But on the visual side, the artistic side, that's different. So now they'd scored excellent on that.
That's where I was giving them the extra points.
Yeah.
But you've got the negatives. I forgot you have the -1. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Things just got real ugly there for poor Michael Bay. Sorry, Michael Bay. Yeah, and then you get somebody like Matt Reeves, who everything I see from him, I watch his Planet of the Apes stuff, I watch his Batman stuff. I'm like, I'm drawn in. He's taking characters that this is an ape. How am I crying over an ape that is literally just ape number 6 in the story? And I'm like, wait a minute, I just attached to this thing. It's crazy.
Now, also, that scene with the car chase in Batman was phenomenal visually.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
So you take, okay, I did have some plot issues with the Batman. In fact, I did.
Oh, sure. And there's some pacing issues too.
Yes, I agree. But visually, like, man, he also knocked out the park. And the way his take on the Riddler, I thought was so good.
Yeah.
That was a different take. That was really good.
Yeah. Okay, so enough about the Batman. This is not about
Sorry, I go off topic. I like having fun conversations.
So you do love, obviously you're drawn to, I'm going to throw an umbrella over it, but I'm not crazy about the umbrella. You are drawn to horror. And the reason I'm not crazy about that as an umbrella is you're doing sci-fi, you're doing all these things. And I think that like I interview a lot of authors, right? And I've been interviewing a lot of horror authors. And when I ask them about horror mixing into other genres, some of them are like, no, it's all horror. And a lot of them are like, well, yeah, horror elements are in romance and horror elements are in this and horror elements. It's like, I like when there's the cross genre, and I hate when everything is pigeonholed. What I see in your stuff is not pigeonholed. You're dealing in maybe fantastical, maybe troubling. I think there is horror there, but would you consider yourself a horror guy, or are you thinking, no, it's because like Black Mirror, I wouldn't call that horror either. I wouldn't call it sci-fi, that's for sure.
So I call myself a psychological thriller writer.
I think that's accurate.
But it's interesting. I was on a panel at Comic-Con London just a couple of weeks ago, and there was a horror panel, and I was asked to talk. I told everyone, look, guys, I had to look up the definition of horror because I don't watch horror. I get terror. I saw The Ring when I was living in Houston with friends in the daytime. If I saw that in the countryside in England at night on my own, I would have died.
Well, this conversation is so good. I'm glad you didn't see it that way. I'm glad you're not dead.
I don't like being scared. I don't get it. Like, because it stays with you afterwards. And like, I don't like it. I don't like horror. But I love horror in books and comics because
right.
It's not so visceral. The only comic that ever actually made me feel creeped out was Uzumaki by Junji Ito. Brilliant, by the way, if you like horror. But I looked up what horror meant, and it's like a sense of unease and dread about what's going to happen next. And yes, I do that. So technically, I guess I'm a horror writer. I just don't consider myself one because I don't do. My stuff is all very realistic. It could be happening next door to you, without you realizing it.
Sure. Although you do play in some sci-fi too.
Well, yeah, but all my sci-fi is hard sci-fi, not. I don't do Star Wars. I do Star Trek.
Right. Wouldn't you say it's just a different sandbox, but you're still a psychological thriller writer. You're just playing in different sandboxes.
Well, yeah. I wrote one. I don't want to get cancelled, but I wrote one story which this woman her husband keeps going to other planets in the sci-fi thing for work, and she's convinced he's having affairs with. That's why he goes, and so she has a temporary surgery thing to change herself to be male, and the first thing she tries to do is pee because she wants to see what it's like, and she misses and everything. And it's funny, and then she wants to try and masturbate, but then she realizes, well, she's still straight, so it doesn't work. She was trying to watch her husband's porn, whatever, and then she goes out and she meets her husband, and he's there in the hotel lobby of this other bar, and she goes and says, "Hi, can I buy a drink?" And then there are two females that are quite attractive, and they start talking. And he says, and they're having a good time, and then the girls go to the loo, and she says, as a man, to him, "Why don't you, no, I'm married. I love my wife," and her heart just melts.
She went to a lot of effort for that to happen.
Well, it gets worse because what happens then is they carry on drinking, and she has so much fun with her husband, and he's like has more fun with her, and he's not going to hook up with these girls. They just go and they end up getting drunk together. And he's actually physically bigger. She's physically bigger than him as the body she's got. Helps into his room, and then she loves her husband so much, and they kiss, and they end up having sex together.
Uh-oh.
In the morning, he freaks out. Like, I'm straight. B, I'm married. Yep. Oh God. And I have to tell my wife. Oh my God, she's gonna leave me. Oh God. And she's like, no, it's gonna be okay. No. And he calls her, and then her phone goes off. He's like, what the? And then she does the worst thing possible. She tells him the truth.
Oh boy. And
then what happens next? I'm not going to tell you, but there's a twist, and it's quite dramatic. So
wow.
That's sci-fi, but it's psychological. It's like
right. You actually remind me. Your writing reminds me of my favorite type of science fiction or fantasy or. I mean, I read a lot of these genres, and take somebody like a Theodore Sturgeon or a Philip K. Dick. Yeah, they're sci-fi, but they're doing the same thing. They're giving you the psychological, I remember reading Case and Dreamer, and on the surface, it's a Star Trek episode. When you get to the end of it, you're like, that was not.
Sorry.
Are you rage quitting? Is that what's going on here?
No. You gave me a name I hadn't heard of. Philip K. Dick, I like his work. So what's the other name?
Theodore Sturgeon.
I've never heard of that.
Oh, we just became best friends. When you read Theodore Sturgeon, you're going to go, oh, he wrote for Star Trek as well back in the 60s. He is one of Philip K. Dick's contemporaries.
This is great. Great. This interview is worth it.
Maybe I do wish you would watch The Ring during the day. Or at night. Yeah, no, you're going to love Theodore Sturgeon. A lot of paperbacks out there. The one that I just mentioned, start there. It's called Case and Dreamer, and it's a science fiction story. It takes place on another planet, but you'll read it and go, "Oh, I get what you're talking about. I get why you."
Cool.
I mean, it stayed with me. It's staying with me in the moment. That's what I look for. It stays with you. Okay. So let's cover a couple more things real quickly here because we're running out of time. But oh my God, do I want to talk to you more? Neil Gibson, you can find his website at twistedcomics.cu.uk. I stumbled through it.
C-O. It's a different letter.
Twistedcomics.co.uk.
What we say in the UK is .co.uk.
Right. But if I don't spell it, people go, did he say .com.uk? Did he say...
With Google, just type in Twisted Comics, you'll find us.
You'll find it. There you go. And you can also support the Kickstarter that we mentioned. Go to the Kickstarter, look up Black Mirror Comic, look up Black Mirror, look up Twisted Comics. I bet you could even type in Neil Gibson, and it might pop up there as well. But you want to get in on that and support the Kickstarter for the Black Mirror. Absolutely. It's fantastic. I've had such a great time talking to you. Now here, I got one more question for you. And this is going to be a rough one. This is one that I ask people on Alley Chats, but you're like me. You've been to all the cons. You speak at all the cons. Here's the question. Who is the number one person that you would love, no restrictors, dead or alive, would love to sit down and have a conversation with from a Comic-Con?
From a Comic-Con?
Or that you would meet at a Comic-Con? Because that's a particular type of person.
Oh, this is a tough one. So are you talking about creators?
Yeah. Well, whatever you think. I've had names. Somebody could say your name. I want to hear, who is it that you would most want to meet at a convention and sit down and have a conversation with?
You see, I'm off the theory of don't never meet your heroes.
Okay.
So I was once offered to meet Graham Norton. I don't know if you know who he is.
Of course. I love Graham Norton.
He's my favorite. Apart from my family, he's given me more joy than anyone else. Right?
He's a laugh, man. He's great.
Yeah. So, and I was offered a chance to meet him. And this was 10 years ago or something. I said, no, thank you. Because I enjoy him so much on the TV. In case he wasn't as nice in real life, I didn't want to ruin it.
Right. Or it changes because now you have that personal connection. You see them slightly differently, even if it's not bad.
Yes, exactly. So
they're human to you then. Yeah.
So I don't know who I'd like to meet from Comic-Con. It's probably be, if I'm honest, not even a comic book creator. It'd be an actor who's famous who goes to Comic-Cons.
I said no restrictors. Who is it?
Probably Robert Downey Jr. because he's just a legend, and I like Chris Hemsworth as well. I mean,
I have a feeling they'd be fun to talk to too, right?
I think he would, because I think he's also, he's extremely talented, but also charming as well. So it'd be fun, but also he has some wisdom behind him, I think, to be able to and he has like the banter they have. Some of these people you can hear, like George Clooney. He's always a character. He has fun doing things. Like there's a scene in Avengers where he offers Mark Ruffalo as Hulk a dried blueberry from a bag, and that wasn't in the script. Just like because he just kept hiding snacks around the set.
Right.
So he'd walk around and just take one there, and just like that kind of character. There's having fun behind the scenes. It's like, this is a fun conversation, right? You want to have fun with the person as well as be interested in what they've done.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's a good one. In fact, believe it or not, that's the first time Robert Downey Jr. has been brought up when I asked that question. And I'm surprised by that because I would think a lot of people would want to have a conversation with him. I'd want to ask him about that Elton John video he did. Remember when
he sang? Why would you want to ask about
that? Because it was so weird. It was right after he had all the drug issues, and he was kind of on the outs. It was before Iron Man. And then you see this video, and there's so much emotion in it, and he's just so raw. And I'm like, I would love to know, like, do you look back on that as like a pivotal moment? Is that something that meant a lot and still means a lot to you? Or is it like, no, I was a hired actor, I did that thing? I would love to know. I'm sure there's a lot more depth to that. And he probably has a great story about Elton John. You know, he's that guy that would have that story.
Yeah. Well, that reminds me of Martin Sheen in Apocalypse Now. One of the opening scenes, he gets drunk in a hotel room and he smashes a mirror and he actually cuts his hand. Yeah, because for that scene, he actually got drunk and did it.
Right.
And so Laurence Olivier said to him, "So I heard you actually got drunk and cut your hand. Is that true?" Martin Sheen was kind of proud of his method of acting. Went, yes, that's true. Huh. So I mean, have you tried acting?
There's a similar story, and I'm going to get it wrong, so I'm only going to put it out there. But there's a similar story when and is it Laurence Olivier who was in Marathon Man with Dustin Hoffman? I can't remember. I can't remember. But same thing. Dustin Hoffman is method acting for Marathon Man, and he's like way deep into character. And the actor, and I can't remember who it is, just said to him like he wanted to know like what's the secret to your great acting, and he said, I memorize the lines and I say them right. Good point, because you do. So, okay, we're going to end this, Neil. This was a true pleasure. I had so much fun speaking with you. I'm sure we'll encounter each other at a Comic-Con at some point. Thank you for being on Alley Chats. Good luck with the Kickstarter. As you have these in the future, let me know. We'll always have you on. It is an open door for you. We're going to do a rewatch of The Ring together. It's going to be fabulous. I have one story about The Ring. When we saw it, we took my nephew, way too young to see it. Aunt and uncle, you do that, right? And afterwards, my wife was terrified by this movie, right? We get out, and my little nephew says, Aunt Maeve, you said the F word a lot. She did. That is a terrifying movie. So there you go. Once again, Neil, this was great. Thank you so much. Hey, what's the best place for people to interact with you?
So we have a social, the handle is NG, that's for Neil Gibson, Twisted Comics, NG Twisted Comics. That's in all the socials. But there's also, he has my socials, which is Twisted Neil. But I'll be honest with you, I don't do social media. I've never understood it. I don't like it, because even when I start doing it, I suddenly have to respond to all these messages, and then I get, oh, that's interesting. I click on this, and an hour is gone. I've done nothing. So I don't really use social media, but I do emails. So I get over 200 emails every day I have to respond to. So that's the best way if you want to contact me.
Yeah. Or go meet him at a Comic-Con. Go see his panels and then go up and shake hands.
Apparently, people really like my panels, my talks at Comic-Cons. They're quite popular. So yes, do that. If you're at New York Comic-Con, I'll see you there. Are you at New York Comic-Con?
No, in fact, I've never been, but my daughter is now going to be going to school in New York, so chances have gotten a lot better. I used to get asked to go, but it just never lined up. But that's what we do, is my family and I are really known for doing panels. So I know all the panelists at these things. So New York Comic-Con, since she's there, I'll probably be applying or accepting an offer to do panels. So maybe that's how we connect.
Well, if you invite me to be on your panel, I'd be delighted to do it. I'm probably doing a talk about Black Mirror, in which case you're very welcome to come along and talk about it.
Wonderful. Okay. It is a date. We don't have a date. You know what? Just go to twistedcomics.co.uk. See?
UK, man, come on.
And follow him. Support the Kickstarter deal. This was wonderful. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. This is great fun. I appreciate it. Thank you.